Jai Sriman Narayan.
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 I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to the Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to the 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome those of you that are physically present here at the Sri Narayan Dham. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally and internationally. And I welcome those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted in the various groups from around the world subsequently. We continue celebrating the 5th day in the month of the Ramanujans here in Durban, South Africa at the Sri Narayan Dham. We concluded our discourse yesterday by stating that to disseminate the prescribed Vedic knowledge, there needs to be an institution, and the institution itself has to have authorized disseminators of this knowledge. And we showed that from Lord Sriman Narayan as the source of all knowledge, there is an authorized disciplic succession handed over from Mother Lakshmi right up to Lord Sri Ramanuj, and then I want to extend up to my spiritual master, Swami Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj, and then from him to me. And this is not difficult to understand at all. Any university in the world will have a professor. He will teach from a syllabus. He would have to be a learner of that syllabus first, then he would have to qualify in that syllabus, then he becomes a lecturer in that syllabus, and then he lectures to learners who want to learn that particular syllabus. And from his group of learners, 1 or 2 or 10 might become lecturers. They would have learnt the syllabus from this set of lecturers in their present curriculum, and they, in their turn, would become lecturers themselves, some of them, and this continuation of lecturer-disciple or lecturer-learner, and then from learner to lecturer, and then teaching his own learners continues. So if you taught algebra, that algebra at its origin and source would have come through thousands of lecturers or teachers up until the time it teaches you. This same stream of knowledge in algebra would have, like an electric current or like a river, flowed from its source up to the current participant in this knowledge. And Sanatana Dharma is no different. It is this, the requirement is that this knowledge has to be systemized and categorized and presented in an absolute syllabus. I'm talking about the knowledge of algebra, and all the teachers have to have training in learning and training in teaching before they teach this knowledge. And similarly, in Sanatana Dharma, all the preceptors had to become disciples, then had to become preceptors in order to teach and cultivate their group of disciples. But there is a difference. In material knowledge, one can learn that knowledge in any condition. Spiritual knowledge cannot be taught to people in any condition. Spiritual knowledge can only be assimilated by human when their consciousness is absolutely pure. Because material knowledge is researched and assimilated, spiritual knowledge is revealed, and it is only revealed to those that are in line to receive it and who is within the parameters of Sattva. Spiritual knowledge cannot be researched. The imports cannot be known by hearting the Vedas. The import or the true import of the Vedas cannot be known by hearting the Vedas. So strict discipline, like your material university, strict discipline is required to know and understand the Vedas and the import of the Vedas. Since time immemorial, various saints and sages have taken the birth, and this is the uniqueness of Sanatana Dharma, that these sages and saints will be Vaishnavites. Vaishnavites are those that believe in the Supreme Personality of the Lord Sriman Narayan. They would be Vaishnavites, but they would postulate a philosophy contrary, either directly or in parts, to the absolute imports of the Vedas. In this unique manner, timelessly, other Vaishnavites will take their birth and correct and re-establish the Vedas in its absolute form. And this is happening since time immemorial. So to fall within the absolute dimension, you have to make the absolute sacrifice. And if your devotion is pure and your surrender is total, then the absolute platform, which is Sri Vaishnavism, will be offered to you. And if your karma does not allow you to be a part and parcel of the Sri Vaishnavism stream, then there are other dimensions and categories that you may fall into. As I've explained earlier in these past 4 days, that the Supreme Lord, in His brilliance or absolute brilliance, formulated the Vedas in such a manner that in its first half, it was there purely as an enticement to bring man into the fold of learning to worship. And then in the Vedanta section, after man has perfected worship, then the Lord reveals Himself. So in the first portion of the Vedas, you worship for order and supply. You worship the entities and you order through your worship, and the subordinate entities will supply. This order and supply of the first half of the Vedas is the background of the Supreme Lord. And Vedanta reveals the face of the Supreme Lord. So the Brahmanas, the Samhitas, shows you the background of the Supreme Lord. The Aryanakas and the Upanishads is there to show you and reveal the face of the Supreme Lord. The Vedas takes its root from Pranava. Pranava is word power, and also it infuses the life-giving force to living entities. And the root of Pranava is the syllable Om. The root of Om is the alphabet A. And A resolves itself into A, and it denotes the Supreme Lord, Lord Sriman Narayan. And I'm going to explain. The word A is the root of all words. All living entities emanates from Lord Sriman Narayan. All living entities emanate from Lord Sriman Narayan. And if A is the root of describing all the entities that emanate from Lord Sriman Narayan, then A is also the name of Lord Sriman Narayan. Narayan means the source and goal of all living entities. And the Vedas are made up of words. And the Vedas is prescribed only to connect you and show you the Supreme Lord, Lord Sriman Narayan. There is no other use for the Vedas. There is absolutely no other use of all this Vedic knowledge that we attain from the four Vedas, the Puranas, the Itihasas, and supplementary Vedic literature. The only reason for the compilation of the Vedas and the supplementary knowledge is to know Lord Sriman Narayan. The Vedas exist eternally. The syllable Om exists eternally, and the alphabet A exists eternally, and A eternally is the name of Lord Sriman Narayan. And this is what the Vedas, in its 550 odd thousand mantras, is meant to teach mankind. All of these Vedic mantras is to teach mankind that Lord Sriman Narayan is the Supreme Lord. His attributes are the infinite souls and material nature, and Lord Sriman Narayan, the infinite individual souls and material nature are distinct in their own characteristics, but they are inseparable. They are distinct in their own characteristics, but they are inseparable. You cannot separate material nature from Lord Sriman Narayan. Neither can you separate the individual souls from Lord Sriman Narayan. And there is a description in the Vedas. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of verses in the Vedas, which is quite clear and which describes the body-soul relationship of Lord Sriman Narayan with material nature and Lord Sriman Narayan with the living entities. And I'm going to round up this discourse today by reading from the Narayana Upanishad to confirm that the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras, the three authorized scriptures, as the Upanishad is part of the Vedas, they are abound in verses that describe the body-soul relationship between the Supreme Lord, the individual soul, and the Supreme Lord and material nature. But for purposes of this discourse, I'm going to just read two verses from section 13 of the Narayana Upanishad, verses 9 to 11. They are written as one, and it states, and I quote, "In the middle of that narrow space of the heart remains the undecaying, all-knowing, omni-faced great fire, which has flames on every side, which enjoys the food presented before it, which remains assimilating the food consumes, and in bracket, the rays of which spread, scattering themselves vertically and horizontally, comma, close brackets, and which warms its own body from insole to crown. In the center of that fire, which permeates the whole body, there abide a tongue of fire, of which the color of shining gold, which is the topmost among the subtle, which is dazzling like the flash of the lightning that appears in the middle of a rain-bearing cloud, which is as slender as the awn of a paddy grain, and which serves as a comparison to illustrate subtlety." This verse is describing the real you, the I, the concept of I, the concept of I. When you say I, that I is not this body. That I is lodged in the heart, which is called the soul, and in that heart there is this tongue of fire, and this fire is the Atmic force of which it spreads its consciousness from your toe to your crown. And consciousness animates your entire body right up to the end of your fingertips. That consciousness gets its power from the soul, which is lodged in the heart. This is the description of this verse. The second verse, verse 12. Param Atman dwells in the middle of that flame. Param Atman dwells in the middle of that flame. Although he is thus limited, and this in brackets, still he is the four-faced creator, comma, Shiva, comma, Vishnu, comma, Indra, comma, the material, and efficient cause of the universe, and the supreme self-luminous pure consciousness. We're to read it again. Paramatman dwells in the middle of that flame. And they have in brackets, although he is thus limited, still he is the four-faced creator, comma, Shiva, comma, Vishnu, comma, Indra, comma, the material and efficient cause of the universe, and the supreme self-luminous pure consciousness. So this verse is stating that Lord Sriman Narayan, who is the creator, the maintainer or preserver, and also the destroyer of this universe, at the same time, he is living inside that flame, which I described as the soul. Where does Lord Sriman Narayan live? Inside the soul. Inside the soul lives Lord Sriman Narayan, and simultaneously he also lives outside. Because God is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. God can be everywhere. He can be in America, he can be in Malawi, he can be in Transkei, and he can be here in Sri Narayan Dham at the same time. God can be all over in the same time, and he also resides in your soul. Inside here, God resides in your soul. And this is meant by the body-soul relationship. This is meant by the body-soul relationship. If your body or if your soul If God is living inside your soul, then what becomes the body of God? The soul becomes the body of God. Do you understand? Your soul now becomes the God's body. And that is the inseparable relationship between Lord Sriman Narayan and you, the individual soul, and what does your body comprise of? Material nature. Isn't your soul is made up of material nature? So your body becomes the body of Lord Sriman Narayan, and your soul also becomes the body of Lord Sriman Narayan. And that is the body-soul relationship of Lord Sriman Narayan, the individual soul, and material nature that is abundantly described in the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Puranas and Bhagavad Gita. So all the authorized scriptures of the Vedas describe this relationship between Lord Sriman Narayan, the individual soul, and material nature, and this description is eternal. It has always been there. It is original and it emanates from the source. And the source is Lord Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan.